Is it hot in here, or is it just me tuning in to hear these three chatting about fantasy novels of the spicy variety? Not your average book club, if you know what I mean. Are you happy to see us? Or is that a dagger? It's Feast, Sheath, Shatter. It's Feast, Sheath, Shatter.
Welcome back, friends. We're here for another book talk with Kate.
Hi. I have been waiting to say this to you all week. Let me see if I can not mess it up. I'm ready to shout down our podcasting bond.
It's like the mating bond, except socially acceptable.
Just shout down the bond. Just shout down the bond. I'm ready to shout down the podcasting bond at you about the third book.
Third book, yeah.
Of A Court of Thorn and Roses, otherwise known as A Court of Wings and Ruin. Kind of a wrap-up and conclusion of Farah and Rhysand's story.
Yeah.
And I guess we can start off by saying, thoughts on this book? Just like open it up. Where are you? How did you like it?
I just want to preface it by saying I didn't hate this book. And there may be points in which I'm speaking where it sounds like I hate this book.
And I will let you know that I love this book and I've read it several times and love it even more. So I will offset that with a complete exuberance and optimism about it.
Yeah, but I didn't not like this book.
Sure.
I didn't not like it. It was fine. Plot-wise, was it as well written as some of the previous books? Not necessarily, but she had a lot to cover.
This book does a lot.
Yeah, she had a lot of loopholes to close. She had a lot of plots to wrap up. She had a lot to do. She had work to do.
And she also opened up a lot of things for other stories down the way.
Yeah.
So she was answering questions and also creating more questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Introducing like a shit ton of characters, most of them within the last like 25 pages.
Yeah. There is some of that. I read some of that I always go in on Reddit and kind of read through to see what other people's takes are. And there was some of that. Some people were disappointed in this book. I read that Sarah J. Maas doesn't really outline her story so much. She says,
a pantser.
Yeah, she just kind of like goes. And you can kind of feel that because her pace is so inconsistent.
Yeah, because she wrote herself into a lot of places that she had to write herself out of. Hence the surreal, which I love that she killed the surreal off because she's
our
like
best friend Tea Queen.
She's like, you guys, I'm gonna try to do it without her. I'm gonna see if I can do it without her.
If you go on Etsy and you look at like some of the merch that creative people have thought of for this, one of them is the Surreal Tea Company, and it's like cute teacups because you get all your info from the cereal. I was like, oh, we felt that way too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can totally see that. It's a lot. It does a lot.
Yeah.
I think by the time I was reading this one, I was so attached to these characters, I was okay with it all. Well, back to A Court of Wings and Ruin. So this is a long one. There's a lot that happens in this book.
There is.
Really cool stuff. Some of my favorite moments in the whole series are in this book. But we start the book with our High Lady 00 Farah.
Yeah. 00 Farah. on a secret mission.
Yeah, secret mission.
Yeah.
Secret mission at Tamlin Spring Court. Like, I'm going to take it down. And then we get another one of Farah's special sets of skills where she can just basically take down a coup d'etat.
Well, she just exploits his already existing weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, you're an asshole. Time to just show everyone you're an asshole.
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she takes him down.
And she feels guilty about it later. And I'm like, really? He did it to himself because you didn't make him do anything.
I do feel a little for Tamlin. She did take away almost everything that he has.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't have been an asshole then.
Lesson people should take from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
You don't want a woman to come back and cuckold you. You probably shouldn't be an asshole in the beginning. Just
Right, exactly.
yeah.
So she comes back. She's in high lady mode, complete espionage, double O'Farah.
yeah.
Lucian sees it. Lucian sees it all. He's like, but he knows he has to stick with her because he wants to see his mate, Elaine,
Yeah.
mated. Ianthe's there. Can you imagine having to sit in a room
No.
with that woman?
No.
No. Just no.
Oh, I love how Sarah J. Maas pretty much forgot about Aonthe for
Yeah.
a while, and then she just shows up at random, like, "Hey, I'm here."
Hey, sorry
what?
about that.
Guess what? I've been like tracking you, kind of, maybe, sort of. I don't know. I just sort of here I am. Hey, and
Yeah.
but we're conveniently like within running distance to the Weaver's cottage.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, wait, at the beginning? Oh, no, you're talking about Ianthe's demise.
Yeah, way later.
Which, when I was listening to that the first time, I was like, wait, what? That's how she goes? Like, that's what happened?
Because Sarah J. Maas forgot about her and had to wrap her up.
I love that you're able to see this and like feel it from a writer's perspective though. Cause I don't. I'm literally whatever journey you want your people to go on. I'm like, yeah, I'm there for that. So your takes on it are so welcomed because I don't recognize it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought when she just pops up out of nowhere.
By the way,
like she
I'm
just
here to
appears
get
out of
ya.
a bush, like the smoke, like an old 1970s like television show where they just like the smoke and then they rise out of it and they're like, Aonthe, hey. She's like, did you forget about me? Because Sarah J. Maas forgot about me. But guess what? I need to get wrapped up, so here I am.
And we're gonna do it like this.
Yeah, and conveniently the Surreal is just roaming about near the Weaver's cottage, which I am sad that the Surreal died, but she didn't have to do her like that.
Yeah, well, maybe she'll have like a baby cereal or there's other cereals.
Yeah.
And they probably all know about Farrah now because
Well,
they're
know
all
about
knowing.
everything, yeah.
Yeah. And so they'll know how kind and sweet and that she mourned. She felt worse about the cereal dying than she felt about many things.
Yeah.
Anything that has to do with Tamlin.
Right. She met 3 times and she was like, you're my best friend and I'm really sad that you're
Yeah.
going.
I felt that connection with the cereal too.
Yeah.
So I get it. So Farrah is at the spring court and she meets these 2 Dematis, these other Branna and Dagden, who really don't serve a purpose other than showing how evil some fairies can be.
Yeah.
Some high fae, they like to eat people.
Which I guess isn't technically cannibalism because they're not the same species.
I guess.
It'd be like eating a monkey.
Ew. Who wouldn't do that? Though?
No, we wouldn't do that
And
because
they're
we're
not
not evil
like
fairies.
humans aren't. I mean, I guess humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, they don't really have it narratively. No. Just to remind us that Hybern exists.
Well, and also for Farrah's powers to kind of show up a little bit, like to say, "I've got my mind." I kind of like the scene where they're sitting at the kitchen table, the dining room table, and they trying to get in there, and she's like, "Nah,
Yeah.
not today." And they're like, "Huh? Who is that? Why can't we get into her brain?"
Which you'd think all high fairy or people around the high fairy would all be trained to protect their minds.
Because they know some people can like
some
break
people
in.
can. So.
I love that people's minds have different like aesthetics.
Yeah. Different sensations.
Yeah. And she describes them like Elaine's mind is like a briar rose bush.
Yeah.
At some point in the book, and I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I like that she does that. I like that stuff. I like flowers.
Yeah.
You know? So she's out there lying. We see that she's just as good at Rhysand at being pretty manipulative, taking down a court from the inside out. Like the spring court's basically gone.
Yeah.
And then her and Lucian run to the mountain, under the mountain, and we get a peek at the Autumn Boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all redheaded.
Of course.
And they suck.
Yeah.
And we meet Eris, his oldest brother, who's the Autumn King.
Yeah, the one that Moore was supposed to marry.
Yeah. And we get this idea that he was like really shitty to her and all that.
Although he says he wasn't.
Right. Which we'll see. We'll see that story down the road. We'll see. But then one of the best parts of the book happens. And it is, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. There is nothing hotter than a superhero landing. I'm sorry. They're just not.
Well, I mean, it's nice. And she's like, they slam down on the ice.
Yeah. 3 hands, the 3 touch.
Yeah.
You have 3 touch with one like raised back, like posing.
Yeah.
God, can you imagine? It's like you haven't seen them. You thought they were dead. And then all of a sudden they superhero land to come get you. I just got so excited when I was reading that part. So then, they're like, leave my high lady alone.
Yeah.
And the Autumn boys are out. They're like, oh, she's a high lady? Oh, wow, this is way more serious than we thought. Then we get to go back to the townhouse. And then one of my favorite moments happens, which is where we get the reuniting of Farrah and Reese. And something about this little scene is so sweet to me.
Oh, because they're just like, oh,
she hears him, smells him, whatever they do, and like falls on her knees and covers her face like a little kid.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I'm here, darling. And like kisses her tears away. I don't know. I just think it's such a sweet.
It's a sweet moment.
I've also seen a lot of fan art about that moment, and I think it makes it even more.
So it's impactful for a lot of people.
Yeah.
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 And then he kicks everybody out of the house because they're about to bang.
And then he does.
Yeah, he's like, everyone out, and they're like, we gotta go get busy for a little while because I gotta go get busy for a little while.
Yeah, and we get to see Lucian see all the things happening at one time. Like, oh wow, there's kids playing here. Oh wow, it's not evil here.
Yeah.
Oh wow, you actually really love him. Oh, that's what love's supposed to look like.
Right.
Oh, that's how you're supposed to treat somebody when you love them.
Yeah. And it's nice because she did Lucian pretty dirty by making him the villain in Tamlin's story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that last time?
No, because it hadn't happened yet. It's not till she goes back to the spring court when she's like...
I'm so glad that you said that because I was going to bring that up.
I mean, she does. She pits Tamlin and Lucian against each other. Oh, not really, because Lucian's like, I'm not mad at him. What are you trying to make me mad at Tamlin for? And Tamlin's just like...
Like what?
Do it again. I can't do it again. He's just like, he's just upset because he loses his mind because he thinks that she keeps like insinuating that she and Lucian are together, even though they're clearly not.
Yep.
But because she's not with Tamlin, because she keeps getting a headache conveniently.
I mean, well,
yeah.
That's literally the most concerning thing to me. I'd be like, okay, how do I keep myself out of someone's bedroom?
Yeah.
Right? He thinks that I'm in love with him.
Still, right. Ooh, and that I'm back and that we're going to be back. And he only wanted one thing out of this relationship to start with. So.
And he didn't even know it. It's sad that he thinks that that's the only way that you can show love.
Yeah.
Ugh, he needs a course. He just needs another 100 years.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah. But one of my favorite scenes, and because is when Lucian says, I didn't realize I was the villain in your story. Because they were so self-righteous and they thought that they were doing everything. And no matter how often she told them.
Yeah.
Like, he's stubborn dude, just couldn't. I don't want to go back with you. I am fine.
Yeah.
You don't know what's best for yourself. And like, are you surprised?
Yeah. Well, he was. Yeah.
But I've had moments. I used to live a life where I had villains in my life. And I'm like, that's actually not how life works. You don't have villains. Nobody's a villain. So I love that she brought that to the narrative. And we're like, oh, wow, I thought I was doing a good job and I was a villain. I really hope I'm not a villain on your podcast stories.
No. I do like the modern, this is my villain era.
Yeah.
I get behind that. This is my villain era.
Have you watched Wednesday?
Not yet.
I think you'll love Wednesday.
I like the Addams Family.
Well, I think you should try Wednesday. I know you're going to like it. You're going to be like...
I sometimes like Tim Burton. I sometimes don't like Tim Burton.
What do you like? What didn't you like?
I like Tim Burton when he doesn't work with...
the lady?
No.
Johnny Depp?
Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp and Tim Burton had their time. They need to break up. I everyone else knows they need to break up, but they're that couple that everyone knows they need to break up, but they can't seem to realize that they need to break up
Yeah.
because they're each other's crutch at this point. Usually if he's not in it, I'll like the Tim Burton movie. And I like a couple Tim Burton movies that have him in it, but not all of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, which one didn't you like?
Like, I don't like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because a lot of times Johnny Depp does a voice I can't even understand, which I have a hard time understanding verbal stuff in movies anyway. Like, I always have to have subtitles on.
Same.
And then when he does the weird voices.
I feel like if you don't need them, you're a psychopath.
Well, then I'll remember, like, I hated that movie. And sometimes I'm not sure if I hated that movie or if I just didn't know what was going on because Johnny Depp was doing a stupid accent and I couldn't understand his stupid accent. And so I need to watch it with subtitles so that I could understand what he was actually saying.
Yeah.
So I have rewatched some and been like, oh, I judged this too harshly. But really, it was just because I saw it in theaters. Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows, liked, didn't like.
No.
No like. Edward Scissorhands.
I like Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
See, that's when they were good together.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, when they were good together. And now,
Yeah. Nightmare Before Christmas.
well, that's not Tim Burton.
It's not?
The story is Tim Burton's, but it's directed by a different guy.
Oh, okay. I know
Yeah.
his name was on it. Okay, well, after that little tangent. So now where we are. Oh, we're talking about, oh my God. Okay. I think I skipped this part, but I need to talk about it.
No, we can go back. Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
That's the rewinding sound.
Because there's so many, like, after we know these characters enough, and there's some really funny parts. So, like, parts that make me laugh out loud. And one of them is when Azrael is carrying Lucian.
And they're just uncomfortable.
Because I can just imagine it. I don't know. Sorry. Revisit. So then what? So then we get back, and this is when I feel like once we get back to the townhouse and we have this read, then there's like just like 50 chapters of one
Just a
thing
lot
after
of-
another thing after
yeah.
another thing after another thing
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of Elaine and Nesta.
Yeah, because they're our next narrators. So you weren't.
I didn't mind them in the previous books, but we
Sure.
get more of them in this
Yep.
one. And I had very little love left for Nesta and Elaine by the end of it. Because I get it. You got turned into a fae against your will. You got superpowers on accident. Oh no, how horrible. You are still shitty people who did shitty things to your sister, and now you are shitting on her for absolutely no reason. Like when they're in the library and Feyre is like, Nesta, you should probably learn how to take care of yourself. And she's like, why? There'll always be somebody there to take care of me. And I just wanted to be like, and they blame her for what happened. Like, if you hadn't come and asked for our help, we wouldn't be in this situation. Oh, you're right. No, you would have been killed when your manor was destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all real things.
I mean, she has spent her entire life taking care of them, and they give zero shits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Elaine gets away with it because she's pretty.
Yeah, because she's pretty and she's a little insipid. So we get a lot of like, but she just didn't know how hard it was for you. Okay, well then explain it to her how hard it was for you. Feyre needs to be like, y'all bitches need to woman up.
Right.
Like I had to woman up because you had your younger sister taking care of you. And now you're angry at me because you're immortal. And so I did like the ultimate job of taking care of you, which was involving you in this plot so that you wouldn't die not knowing what was happening.
Well, and I feel like any kind of rage should be actually on Tamlin or Ianthe because they're the ones that actually...
Yes. But the whole cauldron thing is not even her fault.
Right.
She's not the one who did it. She attempted to involve them as a way of taking care of them.
Right. Oh, you're Farah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're just... And then they get whatever, superpowers. And they're both like...
Actually, their special set of skills just gets highlighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nesta is tough. She is very unlikable.
I get that we're trying to make her strong. I understand that. She's trying to frame her as a strong character by making her just extremely inflexible and borderline bitchy.
But can I say that I know people like her.
I'm not, it's just that she has all of this, like, we're supposed to perceive her as strong, and yet she never stepped up for
Yeah.
Feyre.
Yeah.
Never. And
Yeah.
even when they're in the one library with the pit, and Feyre's like, run. Nesta does. She's like, no. And Feyre's like, run. And she's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll go. Bye. And she leaves. So she, even in that moment, leaves Feyre to take care of it by herself. And then there's an entire battle going on.
But how much of that is enabled by Feyre,
Yeah.
who doesn't ask for help or let anyone help her?
Well, even when she confronts them, like, hey, you need to train, you need to figure this out, Nesta is literally like, nah.
Well, that's because she doesn't want to spend any time with Bohunk Cassian.
Although
because she
by
has
the end of it, yeah.
Yeah, because she's... Wait, you don't learn that for a while. Never mind.
Ooh, I almost dropped a spoiler.
I know. So, but I don't... You probably aren't like... I'm one of those people that when I like someone, I do not talk to them. And when I have a crush on someone,
Yeah.
they will never know. And I will like avoid them. And I relate to that. I think Nesta is like stubborn. She's stubborn to the point of stupidity.
Yes.
And it's obnoxious and annoying. And it is shitty how they treated Feyre. You're right.
Yeah. And I think it's
But I'm not going to let that hold me back because I love this book.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying, like I said at the beginning,
No, I know.
It's going to sound like I hate this book. But I think
don't.
They were just personally triggering as characters. So seeing them as effectively the heroes at the end, because they're the ones who kill the King of Hybern, is such a like, Feyre has fought so hard for all of this. And then they get this glory because they're effectively just in the right place at the right time. I don't know. It was hard, especially Elaine, because everyone's just like, well, that's just Elaine. And they just like let her be. And everybody else is off like courting immortal evil monsters who have been here since the beginning of time and looking in the mirror to find their true selves, which was very never-ending story.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm going to mention the never-ending story. We're going to get a couple references to that.
Yeah.
Because I have,
Yeah.
the way I see things in my brain.
So Feyre's off doing all of the, and they're just like, well, she's
Wait, what did you say was never-ending story?
The Ouroboros.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that part. That's
The
what I
mirror
was going to
gate.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the mirror gate. Strong men find out they're weak. Weak men, brave men find they're really cowards. Yeah, that
and
one.
I have never-ending story written right here. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's our podcasting bond shouting down.
So they let Elaine just recover, which is fine. She needs to recover, but it's just, I don't know. I just felt really frustrated with them as characters because I get where she's trying to go with them, but she's really not. The only way she's making any effort to develop them in the way that Feyre was developed is by just giving them like making Nesta overly bitchy, making them like caricatures of these archetypes. So making Nesta like the caricature of the stubborn, sullen, stubborn to the point of stupidity, strong character, and then making Elaine the like blooming flower in the desert, briar rose who no matter what situation she's in, she brings beauty to it or whatever. So it was a very, I don't know. They just didn't feel like they got the same treatment in terms of character development, but they were supposed to feel equally important in the story. And that made me feel frustrated.
Yeah, that's totally valid. And I feel some of that as well. Like I can tell that's there. But also I still really love Nesta.
Well, I haven't read the next book
I know.
yet.
And Elaine, I still feel that way about. Elaine gets on my last nerves. I don't like the whole I'm so beautiful that I am held to zero standard. What were we talking about?
Sorry.
No.
It was
I'm glad.
ugh, they just got
No, I'm glad.
every
Share
scene
it.
they were in was
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is also frustrating the lack of communication as
Yeah.
just adults, but I think they are all under the age of 25.
Which I realized this was a consistent thing in everything we talked about. You're
Yeah.
like, Rachel, she's a teenager. And I'm like, God, I forgot.
No,
Just-
but I mean, also they're supposed to be our heroines, and they're supposed to be these like characters that we
this
connect
is
with.
why I usually don't read books where the characters are all young.
Well, and like I said, if they do cast this, I do not want this to be a young adult show.
No.
It might have to be for marketing purposes, but I would really like it to not be
Yeah.
like
They
let's
could
have
be
some
mid-20s.
mid-20s and have the guys like 40.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or even mid-30s.
right. Or 40 like my.
Yeah.
It's
or
fine.
40, yeah.
Okay, so we're back at I don't even know. See, I was trying to be so nice.
Do you want a pen to check stuff off?
Yeah, because I don't even know where Y'all, I made notes. I made an outline. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so great. And I can't even tell where we are, so I'm getting a pen.
Because I keep
Thank you.
derailing you.
Oh, no, that's perfect.
That's what it's for. It's an outline. That's why I like the synopsis, because it forces you to remember
Yeah, and
all
that's
the
what
stuff
this
you
is
want to talk
supposed to make it easier to do, just because there's so much stuff. So now we're back at the townhouse. What do we do after that?
God, that's
That's
that's the whole middle of the book. What did we
Right.
do after that? That's the question for the entire middle of the book.
Oh,
We just
by the
flounder.
time, so we'll just highlight since what you just said. Farrah gets back. She finds her sisters, Nesta and Elaine. Nesta is bitter and angry, and Elaine, of course, is depressed and empty,
and they've just been hiding
bereft and
out.
dejected, and they've been hiding out in the House of Wind, which is kind of locked up too.
Yeah.
because you can't get out. There's I think it's 10,000 stairs down.
Yeah, they're way high up where no one can get to them, and they're so sad and lonely up there being taken care of hand and foot and fed and
Yeah,
clothed and
yeah.
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 How hard and horrible for them.
Yeah, and then we do get some Ferris training with the Bat Boys.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Bat Boys. We do get to visit the library. I love the library.
Yeah.
The library, the rehab library.
I like the guy down the little monster at the bottom.
Baraxis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want? I just want a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want? You just want to see the night sky? Can you just send people down here for some company?
Yeah, can you just give me a window and like someone to come chat with me every once in a while?
Yeah, nice little monster. And it is kind of like, it does kind of, when, I do feel like there is a little, Cassian being scareder, I was expecting more. Like, he's like, Cassian has never been so scared.
I think it's just because he's supposed to be like your worst nightmare. Like he just takes the image of your greatest
nightmare.
fears.
So what would your Braxis look like?
Deep water.
That's good.
What's the one where it's like a fear of man-made objects that in the water?
What?
Yeah, it's a specific fear. Let me look it up.
Where you're scared of man-made objects in the water?
Yeah.
So like bridges?
Yeah, like bridges and piers.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Like running into one?
No,
Or getting like cut up by the
It's
barnacles?
called submechanophobia. It's a fear of submerged human-made objects, either partially or entirely underwater. Yes, like a shipwreck or something would be absolutely terrifying. The idea of a man-made object underwater.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Yeah, it's actually like it's real. I didn't make it up. It's called submechanophobia.
So when did you realize that you were scared of that?
Just like all the time, because anytime you're by like a pier where the pier is out of the water and goes in the water, like the posts go under the water.
That scares you.
That's terrifying. Yeah, or like a boat where part of the boat is out of the water and then the rest is in the water.
That terrifies you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks.
I'm not terrified of that, but I am terrified of fire ants.
Well, that's a good one.
I hate them.
Well, it's because they're awful.
They're the worst.
So it would just look like a mound of fire ants.
Oh. Yeah. So your greatest fear is scary things underwater.
Yeah.
Man-made things underwater.
Yes.
And mine is being crushed by water. Water is terrifying to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Deep water is just horrific.
Any kind of water being crushed. I'm also terrified of like holes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that.
Tryptophobia or whatever
Yes,
it is. Yeah.
that.
Tryptophobia. The one where you're afraid of like pits.
Look.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one I don't understand. I get it, but I don't understand why my brain.
Yeah.
It's because it's too foreign, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
look natural enough to
Well, it's
us.
supposed to be like a disgust thing to keep you away from it.
Like a
Yeah.
disease.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're going back to. So now we're there.
Yeah, we're
And
there.
this is what they're doing. Okay. It's all coming.
Politics.
And lots of politics. It's like we got to get everybody together. We get to meet all of the high lords.
And everybody's overly angry. Just overly angry. Like, I
Right.
get it. We all don't love each other. But I had one more person be like, well, I don't trust you. I just don't trust you.
Well, that's because Rysand has had his mask on his whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but we're all like, how can you not love this little guy?
She also realized she didn't have anything but heterosexual relationships. And so she threw a bunch in. She was like, oh, hey, surprise, guys. This guy's
Yeah, so,
goes either way. He's bisexual. And then, oh, by the way, Moore is a lesbian.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up. So that is something that a lot of people critique, but I hate. Let's just bring this put it on the table.
Yeah, go
I
for it.
cannot stand when people's take on a lesbian relationship or any kind of queer relationship being the forced diversity. I don't give a shit. It shouldn't. Sorry. I
No,
hope she
you're
can't hear
fine.
me. But it's not like, no, it's not forced diversity. It's
No.
how it should be in the
Right.
first place. It should just normally be lots of different types
They're
of
not,
love.
They're not the token gay couple.
Oh, and something we haven't mentioned before is also race. Like we haven't talked about. She does have a lot of different types
Yeah,
of
she
characters.
just doesn't describe them as whatever. She just
Right.
describes their skin color,
Right.
mahogany.
Yeah. And
or
there's
pale
tons
or
of
whatever.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we get to this book, and I was seeing a lot of anytime there's that kind of criticism, I'm like, do you hear yourself?
Yeah,
Like it just never feels forced to me. I'm like, oh, this feels like the way it should be.
right. I was happy she included them.
Yeah, me too. I didn't
Yeah.
have any thoughts about it. Forced diversity. Get out of here. People got to stop with that.
Yeah,
I see
I mean it is not a human court. So even if it were human court, there's a spectrum to human relationships, and they appear anywhere on the spectrum and should. So it's not that they are forcing diversity. It's just that they're showing every part of the spectrum
yeah.
as they should.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's Helion. Is Helion the one that is
Yeah. Yeah.
flexible?
Yes.
Yes.
My only real complaint with that is he's overly sexualized. Like he's always trying to get everybody into bed, which is like a huge bisexual stereotype that
Right. Yeah.
because you are interested in everyone that you are automatically
Always interested in sex.
you're automatically always on.
flamboyantly like out to have sex with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Which maybe that's just Hellion. There's people like that.
there are.
If every single bisexual character she had was like that, it'd be a justifiable criticism, but he's the only one. So we can't really say she's falling into the stereotype because there's only one. Maybe that's him.
Yep. He's Lucian's dad. We think.
Yes.
Mostly.
Probably.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Which I kind of loved. That's where she's like, and let's do it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay, guys. He's the nice one
This one-
because he's not even the real child of Autumn.
Yeah. And that's why they hate him. And everyone knows it but him.
Yeah.
And he can't look at this guy's face who looks just like his face.
And be like,
And I feel bad for his poor mother.
it's surprising how consistent she is in the fact that all the women are like, well, there is no high lady. That all the women are consistently willing to put up with the fact that they don't get to be on equal footing with
Yep.
their husbands. Like
Yep.
even the woman that protected her entire country for the time that they were under the mountain,
Right.
like formed her own cool army because she's the one with like polar bears and foxes and stuff. It felt
Super
very
cool. The winter court.
Philip Pullman with the
Spyglass.
where they
The
have
dark materials.
Yeah, where they have the polar bear.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. But she ran that court by herself, basically, while he was gone. And yet, as soon as he came back, she was like, and here you go.
Yep. It's the women upholding the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yep. And women fighting for it. And them not realizing that they have been trained
Yeah.
to support a way of thinking that actually oppresses them.
Yeah.
I was surprised. Kind of like real life.
Yeah, kind of like real life.
Yeah.
Although Faye was like, you guys could be like this too.
She's and never at any point is she like, wait, what? You don't have high ladies? That's weird. That's weird.
She's like, well, then I'll be the first one. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she also announces herself. That was really fun. I love that.
Yeah.
Just love that part. Right after those superhero lands. God, I just picture it in my brain and I'm like,
It's because it's Cassian.
it is so, he's so fine. He's so fine. Yeah, so they're all trying to get everybody together. Did we get an intro? So they're going to the Dawn Court. And then, but you know what they have to do first? They got to get Keir, Morgan's dad,
Yeah.
the leader of the actual Night Court, to join them because he isn't forced to be in the army. He can't make him. So they have to go see him. And then Morgan's really upset because Reese didn't talk to her first.
Right.
Should have just communicated.
Right.
And given her an option. And I'm sure she'd have seen that they needed that.
Right. Instead of springing it on her.
But it's a nice way of knowing that Reese isn't always perfect.
Yeah. He made a bad call.
He did
on
make
that
a
one.
call. He really did. And we don't get a lot of Morgan. You know?
No. I mean, we kind of do, but she doesn't do anything. She's like drinking. There's the funny scene where she gives her the entire bottle of wine and she's like, it's okay if you drink it directly from the bottle.
Yeah, she is funny.
And then she sleeps with Hellion, which that's when Feyre calls her out. She's like, you didn't even enjoy it. Like, you weren't even happy the next day.
Yep.
And that's when she's like, that's because I like girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, and I've seen this as a criticism, and I hope that at some point down the storyline, we don't have this yet, that we get an explanation for why Azriel seemingly is in love with her. Like, no one asks him about it. It could be some sort of, I just hope that we get some sort of explanation that isn't, I was just epically in love with her and
For
did
500
years.
fucking years.
I hope we get a story where it's like, there was something else. He recognized something. He was always looking out for her, and it just kind of appeared that way. Mm-hmm. Because, that's tough for me. The 500 years of longing.
Her literally,
is that that's a story, isn't it?
3,000 years.
Yeah,
of longing.
okay,
Yeah.
we talked about that before. Yeah,
But
500 years.
What? She couldn't have told him
Yeah.
at any point, and she let him carry a torch for her for
That's why I'm
500 fucking years.
And that's why I'm hoping she does something really smart and writes it in a different way, or gives us a different. Eventually we'll get an Azriel story. We don't have one yet.
Yeah.
Eventually we will get one, and when we do, I want there to be some sort of
explanation.
Sure,
Yeah,
because
instead of just he had a crush. And
he was
hoping she'd
epically in
come
love with
around.
her and
Yeah.
couldn't breathe when she was in the same room.
Yeah,
And
at any point she could have been like, Azriel, I do love you, but like a brother, because I don't like men like that.
Right. Do you know how?
Oh, how easy was that sentence? Do you want me to say it again? Azriel, I love you like a brother, because I don't like men like that.
Yeah, and he would go, oh my God, that is such an acceptable answer.
That makes a lot of sense.
I don't feel hurt anymore.
I don't feel like you're constantly rejecting me.
Right.
For half a millennium, you knew that I liked you and you just didn't do anything about it because I am so unacceptable to you that you never came around.
Yeah, I'm not yeah.
I did like all the Azriel we got though, because he spends that time working with Feyre on how to fly, and he's like funny and charming.
And then I have my favorite is the Nefel story. I love that for some reason. It's not for some reason. I know why.
It's sweet.
It's a sweet story, and I love that it's like history and a story, a philosophy inside of this book. And I don't know, it gives me hope.
I think I would have liked it better if she had been legendary instead of somebody they knew, because then she shows up at the end.
I see.
Yeah. Because it's like, well, okay, good. I mean, I'm glad she's like a living legend. But
Yeah, she's a living legend. You'd rather her be long gone.
or just like, yeah, legendary, instead of, because now,
When you said I'd rather her be legendary,
like, spoken of only in legend.
I know immediately my brain goes to Pokemons, and I'm like, I can just imagine like Pokemons.
Gotta
Anyways,
catch my Nefel.
yeah,
Yeah, but no, I think it's because I can't imagine.
took me a second.
Because I can't imagine knowing that there's an entire group of people that use me as their inspiration story. It would make me feel so uncomfortable. So I feel for her because all she was trying to do was just do the right thing in that moment.
Yeah,
She wasn't expecting to be spoken of.
and now
like,
they have
with
a
reverence.
marathon or some sort of warrior thing every year where
Yeah.
she gets to crown them. But if you don't die because you're immortal,
But they do grow old because they meet that one old fairy.
yeah,
The
They
one
do
old
get
high
old.
fae. They're just so long lived. It appears they're immortal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which Amryn does correct for us. Yeah. Well, I like the Nefel story.
I
But
mean,
you're
I'm
right.
not
It is
saying
weird
it
that
wasn't
she
good. I'm just saying.
Well, and it is kind of weird that they see her at the end, and
Yeah.
she's so like, like a celebrity starstruck. She's so starstruck.
Yeah. Well, you should never meet your heroes, I guess is what I'm saying.
Dude, I
Because-
would never want to. It's the
Yeah.
same thing as being scared of Santa
Yeah.
and furries and like creatures in character. No, thank you. If I saw a celebrity, I would walk the other way. Get out of my face. You don't belong here.
You have a place and it's
You-
on
and
my screen.
It's not here.
It's not here.
It's in LA. We're out in the land of the whatever that is.
Where all celebrities live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a different world,
So in Babylon 5,
which I have started.
Londo Malari, the guy with the fan hair, he lives in Wilmington.
Oh,
and
he
teaches
does?
acting classes.
Oh, really?
Yes. So if we wanted to meet him,
We could.
that's an option.
Should we try and get him on a pod when we do the Babylon 5?
I think we
Should I get
should.
invited to
Yeah,
that?
I'll just throw it out. Invite everybody a lot of them have passed, but he hasn't. Jakar has. The doctor has.
Okay.
And,
What about the security guard?
Garibaldi? He just died
Oh, wow.
recently. Yeah,
Aw.
I know. It was because they were going to do a movie, and then I think Jakar died, and they were like, "Well, we can't.
We can't
cast
do it
Jakar.
anymore.
We can't." Okay, so
Yeah.
what? You're gonna get me talking about Babylon 5. We're gonna talk about that for hours. But
I know. Well, I have started. I'm on my way. It's just a lot.
it is a lot.
It's a lot. But going back, so we're in the middle of the book. That is the middle to the end, long, everything going on.
The middle is very like plot,
Yeah.
plot, politics, plot.
The library chaos, where we've already kind of talked about.
Yeah.
Then we've got Elaine's magic. Elaine is a seer. Surprise.
Which it takes them a really long time to pick up on. They're like, "Oh no, she's crazy." You live in a
I
world.
like immediately.
You
know.
live in a world with magic. Literal fucking magic. And somebody is seeing visions and you're like, "Oh, that's it."
That must be pretend.
Her cheese slid off her cracker. The poor girl. Look at her. She's seeing stuff that's not really happening. Nobody's like, "Oh, I wonder if she's seeing the future." Even when it's clearly like 1-to-1.
Yeah.
It takes them a really long time.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Some point, and I can't remember how this happened. Lucian is like, he leaves to go do a recon job to find.
Yeah, 'cause
and
they-
she's like, okay, well, I don't really feel like riding him in right now, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna send him
She
off.
couldn't figure out what to do with them. That's right after Elaine, they find out Elaine's a seer.
Yeah.
Because she keeps seeing the Firebird.
Oh, right, that's
Yeah.
it.
And so they're like,
Go find her.
Oh, you mean that queen that's a firebird by day and a queen by night? Her? Oh, well, she's on the continent. Yeah, we should probably go get her.
Yeah, and Lucian's like, I got
Lucian's
this.
like, I volunteer as tribute. He's like, I'll go.
Yeah, it's like recon. I'm down.
Yeah, and so she's just like, whoop, we're not going to talk about him again.
And you get
literally
until
until like
the very end,
very,
which I
very,
I
very
didn't see
end.
coming, which is really like,
I
I was
want
just like, is this happening? What
I
a
want a
treat.
short story of his time over there.
I'm sure we'll get it. And she does that a lot. I was going to bring that up. She does that a lot where she gives us a little peek into the story.
Yeah.
Like, I want the Weaver story.
Yeah.
You know? I want to know I want to know what happened.
Her and the bone carver.
yeah. I want to know what happened to them.
Yeah.
And then, Lucian meeting their dad, like they come back. I kind of relate to Nesta in a way where like all of them coming back and having these wonderful, uplifting stories about their dad. And they spent all this time with him, like whittling, like being whittling and not being able to walk around and being so angry at him, which I think her anger was a little unfounded, but it's fine.
Yeah, because he didn't send ships to every corner of the world to try to find a cure for a disease that lots of people die of.
Yeah. And she just needed someone to blame, so she blamed her dad, which could be a little bit telling on why she's so fucking mean to the handsomest man in the world, Cassian.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I get it where she's mad because he kind of just gives up.
Yes.
That I understand.
But she doesn't do anything either.
No, she doesn't either. So look in the mirror, Nesta. Is it really your dad you're mad at?
No.
But I think that the scene where Lucian comes back and the dad like rides in on the ship.
Did you cry?
No, I didn't cry. But I think it would be more impactful if we had the backstory. So if we had some like Lucian meeting this guy and not knowing who he is, and then over time finding out that this is actually their dad.
And I'm fated to be with your middle daughter.
Right. That if we had that story, we could have cut out 30 to 40%.
30 to 40 different tasks
of the
that had to get
shit in the middle. Thrown in Lucian and Lucian meeting her dad. And then when he arrives at the end, that is a glorious moment. Instead of just like, seriously? Because this whole time they're like, oh yeah, dad, he's on the continent or whatever. No one's concerned about where he is, which is a big tip off that clearly something's happening.
So I didn't think about it. But thank you, Ryder. Ryder Rachel here.
Because it's just every time they're like, oh yeah, dad, but dad's on the continent for a couple more months. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. And so then he arrives on the ship and they're like, well, he called himself like the Prince of Merchants or whatever. And they're like, Dad, is that you?
Yeah. So I did cry when she's describing the ships and Nesta, the ship Nesta. I cried today. I cried today listening to that. It got me. It got me good.
I mean, it's a sweet moment, but it does feel a little bit like,
oh yeah,
I'm really sorry I almost let you all die. So I am overcompensating in the biggest way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it
I rose an army in your name. You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, considering that all three of us girls are these, it gives us a little bit more into the DNA of greatness, I guess. Their ability. So we go from like having to do tasks to being in a battle really fast.
Yeah. Well, it's because we wallow. The whole center is really just wallowing. And we lose tasks. We really lose the momentum because she keeps reminding us that Hybern's going to invade and Hybern's going to whatever. Yeah. And we keep seeing like glimpses of, well, Hybern's going to do this, blah, blah, blah. But we're really just wallowing. And so then she got to a point where it was like, I need to just go. Yeah. And so she was like, well, we're done. Hybern's already attacked. Our time for preparation is over.
And we missed Tarquin when they had to go save the Summer Court.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I kind of like that. I like that Tarquin was still mad at him.
Yeah.
And that's when we learn about Helion.
Yes.
Yeah. But then fast forwarding to battle mode.
Yeah.
And then in the very first battle, we get a very lovely glimpse of Cassian destroying everyone with his... Just like, I can just picture it like a movie.
Sheer badassness.
Yeah. Yeah. I can just see it. Wait. I want to ask you something. I want to tangent for a second. When you're reading, you picture this in your brain?
Yeah.
Like a movie?
Yes.
Huh. Do you have an inner monologue?
Like when I'm thinking normally?
Yeah.
Not really.
What?
What do you mean what? How do you think? I think in pictures usually.
I think in words.
Oh.
I'm fascinated by this. That's what I wanted to ask. That is so wild. It would be so scary to all of a sudden bebop into someone's brain and they don't use words to narrate their life. Sometimes I think that's why, like, do you ever talk out loud? Talk to yourself?
Sometimes.
I talk to myself so much, and I think it's because there's just this inner monologue constantly going on. But I was trying to think about what I'm picturing when I am reading, and I'm not sure it's pictures. I need to pay more attention.
Well, you have imagery. Like you saw the superhero landing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I picture Cassian.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I see pictures.
Yeah, there
You're
you
right.
go.
Thank
Yeah.
you for walking
You
me
do
through
not
that.
suffer from aphantasia.
Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. Aphantasia?
Yeah, when you can't see images in your mind. It's called aphantasia.
And that's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Do people with that realize they have it? Probably not.
Probably not, because you wouldn't know what it was like to think with pictures.
Well, how the fuck do they think?
Well, just in words. You just would, like, if I tell you apple, you kind of see, you hear the word apple and you probably see a picture of an apple. You could picture what an apple would look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't.
Do they have face blindness too?
Not necessarily.
Interesting. So cool. Where are we though? In the blah.
In the battle.
Oh yeah, first battle. Cassian gets super, super hurt.
Yeah.
Nesta is just like biting her fingernails on the side of the, watching him be the most beautiful, badass guy of all time.
Hillside, watching everybody die
And then
risk their lives while her sister risks her life, and everybody risks
And
their
then
life
Farrah's
except
like-
Nesta, who sits up there with a bowl of popcorn and watches everybody.
yeah, and
fight.
Farrah's like, is this when they were like, I can't see the whole, I don't think we can see all of Hybern's army. And at one point they invisible coat themselves and move. And then she's like, we don't know how many soldiers they are. Where are they hiding? And that's when she's like, Nesta, use your powers to find my best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the second battle because they fight in the summer court and then they go fight the second battle. And then they're like, well, this isn't his whole army. Something is going on here.
Right.
And so she goes to see the Suriel and she's like, Suriel, where my homies at?
Yeah. She's like, it's weird how she gets like one question in her mind. And she's like, the only way is to find my girlfriend, Suriel.
Yeah.
Who won't even give her a name. I bet it's a beautiful name. I bet it's like...
Wasn't that when she tells her Nesta can find the army? She's like,
Yeah.
how do we find it? She's like, Nesta can find it. She
like
could've-
recognizes like...
She could have been like, Suriel, where's the army?
Yep.
Yeah. Because Suriel knew.
Suriel did know.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's when Ianthe pops up.
Hey, I'm here. I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, yeah? Well, follow me right this way. And I love how breezy, like how quick it happens.
Yeah.
She's just like, oh, Ianthe's back. And, oh, go in there. And, oh, sneak out the back and
Yeah.
shut the door.
Yeah, a lot of the events right at the back are real rapid fire. Like at the
Yes.
end are very like, poof, poof. She goes to find the Suriel. She finds the Suriel. Oh, it's Ianthe. She kills Ianthe. She goes back. Everybody's mad.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, she really was writing like, oh, this is how we're going to clean this
Yeah, it's
up.
because she wallowed for a long time. And then she had a lot of plot to wrap up. It was already a really long book. And so it was like, and here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they get back, and then Nesta is supposed to find the cauldron. So she opens up her mind to the cauldron, and then the cauldron can see her, and he's
Yeah.
like, ha ha ha, I'm going to come steal Elaine.
Yeah.
So then they both wake up in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and Elaine's gone.
Right.
And then we get this tangent where they head to Hybern's army.
I don't understand why Elaine is so stuck on the boyfriend or the fiance.
She's just stubborn and loyal.
That just feels it feels contrived. Like it feels like a way of generating tension because he's like, take your ring off. And she's like, I'd be like, I could smite you, motherfucker. You want this ring? Guess where I'm going to shove it. But no, Elaine is like, oh no. For like so long.
So
right? She
long.
holds a torch for this guy for.
I mean, have you never? I mean, I feel like you've been in a relationship for a really long time. Was he your first love? Let's get this out. Is Matt your first
He's
love?
the second guy I dated.
Second guy you dated?
Yeah.
And obviously the love of your life. Obviously, if you've seen them together, if you've listened to them pod together, if you've shouted down, they shout down their bond at each other.
Yeah.
And the first guy, how did that relationship end?
I met Matt
Okay.
And I was like, I like that guy.
So the first guy was Tamlin,
Yeah.
and then Matt is your Sand.
Yeah, effectively.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've never had the dissociative event where you break up with somebody and it is the worst and most horrifying thing that has ever happened to you, and you literally cannot let go.
No.
Okay, I have.
You're like, well, I have knowledge. I have deep knowledge about
I
this.
have. And it kind of feels like that. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's tough. So I think what feels inconsistent is that sometimes people have real life feelings, and then sometimes they're like Farrah and they just like forget.
Yeah.
You know, I can see that. It's inconsistent.
I think it's like she continues to think of him as better than he is for too long. Maybe that's what bothers me. Is because of the
pedals. What am I trying to say? Pedestals him.
Oh yeah. She puts him on a pedestal
Yes.
where he literally insults her and calls her trash. And she's like, but maybe we can still be together.
Yeah, she definitely can't. Well, and she's never had to come to terms with anything.
Right.
It's just like she's allowed to. She
doesn't have any emotional ballast.
Gemini.
She doesn't have any emotional ballast.
None.
Maybe that's what I always have a hard time when characters that are in a position where they need to be strong don't woman up fast enough. So Elaine is a seer. She is now crucial in destroying everything. And even when it comes to the end of it and Amren's like, we need all four of us to go destroy the cauldron, Elaine and Nesta are like, but do you need all four of us?
You're better at it.
Like, maybe two would be okay. Like, you guys are so good. And we just hold you back.
Yeah.
And they end up not going.
Yep.
Not going. This is to save the motherfucking world. And they are like, oh my God, but like I got my period.
realm.
Like, I got my period yesterday and I'm like really emotional and I just don't know if I can destroy a cauldron right now.
They're so 2022.
I just
Because I might do that too. That's fine.
yeah. No, I think if it came to it and you knew it was you were saving the world.
Yeah. Have you heard the term chronically online?
No.
Okay. I just came across it. It is a new phrase, a new word. I don't know how long they've been saying it, the kids.
The youth.
But it's basically what it means when you come across a person whose personality is like they're on the internet all the time. And I love it. It's refreshing to know that kids are putting labels on kids who show up with that like chronically online personality. I just wanted to bring that up at some point, and that seemed to be the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that I don't know that, and then they don't ever come. There's no for every single surprise ally popping up out of the woodwork in the final battle.
Yeah.
Elaine and Nesta never come to it. Like they never get to a point where it's so they're not there so that they can be the ones to kill Hybern. And I get that, but it doesn't. She could have incapacitated them in another way. They didn't just have to be like, well, we're too emotionally fragile to defeat the cauldron right now.
Did they say that? Because I just don't think my reading.
Well, Elaine can't move. She's so overcome
with distraughtness. She's got the
and Nesta can't.
Bella. She got Bella.
Yeah,
she got
had to
Edwarded.
sit in a chair. Oh my God. That scene in Eclipse, when in the book, it literally is just months in the middle of the page.
Yeah.
For like 6. I was like, what the fuck is this? And I got to the end of it and I was like, she was in a coma? Like an emotional coma? For like
months.
But yeah. So Elaine is too overwrought to be able to even walk. And then Nesta won't leave Elaine because they're codependent. So
yeah, that's true.
So they're like, really Farrah, you've taken care of us this entire time. You can keep taking care of us, right? You got this.
Yep.
And they give her like a fist bump and they're like, go destroy the cauldron.
Peace, Archeron.
Peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we talk about the part where Farrah goes to the Hybern army and she's chased by the dogs and Tamlin comes and helps her out?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And she has to learn how to fly.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I can actually feel what it feels like to need wings. Like, she's good at describing it so much that I
Yeah.
can like feel my back hurting from
Yeah.
having to support and having a core.
She does a good
strong
job
enough.
of not making it too easy. Of not being
Yeah.
like, well, now she has wings and she has the muscles and she can do it. So, isn't that great?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the rest of her magic is treated very preemptively. Like her fire comes out and she's like, well, now I know how to use fire. And then it's like when
Here's
they're
my water creatures.
like when they're fighting at the very beginning and she's like, I can't use my left side. And she takes like a 15-minute break. And when she comes back, she can use her left side because her fairy nature helped her adapt. Yeah. So there are definitely places where she takes the stakes away. She's like, oh, yeah, you remember how that was kind of hard? She was going to have to work for it. Well, surprise, fate intervened and now she doesn't have to. But definitely for flying, she leaves that difficult for a long time.
I appreciated that. But Tamlin saves her. He sends her a spring scented breeze.
Yeah.
She's like, and I recognize that smell.
She's like, Tamlin, that you?
Yeah. And
She
then
smelt his wind before.
I'm sure she has. I bet he was
Yeah.
farting all up in his sleep while she's throwing up from her anxiety attacks.
Wow, what a beautiful image of their relationship.
Yeah, he's just hotboxing her with spring wind.
I will admit I was skimming that part.
Dude, there are so many parts of this book that I had to go back and listen to several times because I'm like, my reading comprehension isn't on or something. I'm like, wait, what?
It's because it wallows so much. And you wander, like your mind wanders because it's like, I know there are stakes to this effectively, but Feyre's not going to get captured. She's going to be fine. The only reason Ianthe died.
It's literally just another task.
It's just another task that we know she's going to get out of.
And how did it propel the story farther? Like, what did that
They really don't.
But what does it do? Like Tamlin, maybe?
Just Tamlin. It's a way of showing us that Tamlin's not a bad guy. And it's a way of outing Tamlin as not Hybern's ally.
Right. And to potentially expect him later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did
It's
this
supposed to be
do?
a redeeming thing.
That's how we found out that Nesta is like the cauldron.
Yeah. And so that's how they find the cauldron and how the cauldron finds them.
Also pisses me off that Nesta knows that she is probably the most powerful person in the world and will not test it out or pay attention to her own self.
Yes.
It is so fucking annoying. I do find that really annoying.
Extremely frustrating, especially when she's literally standing up on the mountainside, like watching the battle. Like, I really hope this goes my way because if it doesn't, I can do fuck all. I haven't practiced anything.
Yeah. Well, I guess it could kind of be if she had described it more and given us more of like, she could have really built up their character more in like being women of the court or like ladies and like how ladies, and how they are stubbornly who they've always been taught to be.
She's never given us a good justification for why Elaine and Nesta are so useless.
Yes.
Never.
Right.
I mean, in Elaine, it's like she's too pretty. She's just too pretty to do all that. And she loves flowers. Nobody who loves flowers can fight like that. But we don't. She's trying to establish Nesta as this strong character without really giving us any reason.
And maybe it's because their mom was a like authoritative. I mean, like what glimpse we do get at their mom. I could see their mom being very like, I keep thinking about Cinderella.
Yeah.
And the mom and the two sisters. And if they're in that, like, they've been brainwashed to think that women only do this and fairies are bad and blah, 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 then yes, they are having to. But we don't get enough of that to really understand them.
No, because they're perfectly willing to let Feyre do
everything.
Everything.
Right.
Like perfectly willing to let her do it.
Yeah. I love that. Is it this book or maybe it's the book before? No, it's this book where she's like, I didn't realize you couldn't read.
Yeah, it's this
Why?
one.
Why? How can you not tell?
She's like, well, I don't know. I kind of figured you like knew how to read or whatever.
And then her feelings are hurt when Farrah's like, I thought you wouldn't want to help me learn.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, everyone knew you wouldn't want to help her learn Nesta.
Right. Why are you offended by that?
Yeah.
I know. Well, I know now.
That's a good point. That really, we just don't get justification
for
why they're so useless.
Why they're so oblivious.
No, they know. They know, and they're just willing to let Feyre do it all.
Yeah, I don't
Without
know.
really
the
any
reading,
good-
the reading thing doesn't compute for me. Your little sister can't read, and you don't know.
And you don't. She wouldn't have cared.
I mean, I guess they were in survival mode, so maybe they did miss
They
it.
weren't in survival mode because every time Feyre got money, they spent that shit on themselves. It's like at the beginning when she's like, oh, Nesta's going to want new boots and I'm going to have to let her get new boots. And she looks over and like her boots are too small and her boots are falling apart. And she's the only one that actually leaves the house. And she's like, I have to hide the money because if they find it, they'll spend all of it on themselves.
Yeah, but also Farrah, well, she was younger, so she doesn't know how to like. She also needed to.
Well, how effective would it have been if she'd said, no, Nesta, I need to spend that money on myself? I mean, would Nesta have let her? She was.
No, she probably just turn up her snooty nose and.
I mean, she was terrified of Nesta. Or not terrified, but Nesta was so critical.
Yeah.
That Nesta was that like critical voice in her head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is messed up, man.
And Nesta messes her up for a long time in the first book in the Spring Court.
Yeah.
Where every time she's going to do something, she hears Nesta being like, well, you're dumb. What are you going to do that for? And she has to like let Nesta's voice go. And then as soon as Nesta shows back up in this book, she's holding a torch for her. And it's just, I mean, I get it. They're sisters. And I do like that moment towards the end where they all lay down. Like they've just had this really shitty thing happen and they all kind of snuggle like they used to. And that, I get that. That's kind of sweet.
When
They're
did
like,
that happen? I don't remember that.
oh, that's after they save Elaine. And they're all really tired.
And they cuddle.
They cuddle.
I missed it. I've read it 3 times. I missed it.
And there's
It's probably in the lull. It's hard.
I remembered because Feyre gets up and she walks out and she says she finds a camp mother. Like, I found a nearby camp mother and told her we needed some food. And I thought, camp mother? What the hell is a camp mother? Is that just like an old woman wandering around taking care of everybody in the camp?
I guess so.
Yeah, that's why it
I've
struck
never
out to
heard
me
that
because I was
term.
like, camp mother.
Doesn't it feel like Sarah J. Maas is English? She's New Yorker. She's a New Yorker.
I don't think she's English.
Sometimes I think she's English. But it also might be because when I'm reading Reddit, a lot of the English readers, they like to think that they read the guys with Scottish accents. They think Illyrians have Scottish accents. I don't, because those boys
They are very Highland. I mean, they live in the Highlands.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that, but
Yeah.
those boys are like, you know, I don't know. I just don't, maybe they do talk like that.
They're whatever. They don't say they have an accent. They're whatever you want them to be.
Yeah, well, Scottish is probably hot. Makes sense.
It's because they're like,
Cassian with a Scottish accent. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
I'm
sold.
down.
Yeah.
Sold. I'm down for it. Yeah, so now we're at our final battle, which goes for like 12 chapters. And
It's so long.
it's really long. Lots of tasks.
And it's a lot of ups and downs.
So many.
If all of the rest of her exposition has been orgasmic, this is that like, I just can't get there scene.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
book is kind of like that, though.
Yeah.
And she wraps it up. I mean, we do wrap up like a K-pop or what is it?
K-drama.
K-drama. It does wrap up like a K-drama.
I mean, it ends happy, but at the end, it's just like, ugh. I think if we'd had any of these other allies in any part of the previous 67 chapters, it would have felt more interesting when they showed up. Because it's like, oh, look, here's the people on that island that we thought was deserted, but it wasn't really deserted. It was just a really good glamour. And since nobody's visited them in 300 years, nobody knew that they were there. And they heard it through the grapevine somehow that they needed them here and that they were losing or blah, 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 blah.
And
blah,
they
blah,
also
blah.
met up with their dad.
Yeah. Oh, and surprise, here's their dad. It
And
was like,
Lucian and Vesa.
it was like, oh no, we're losing. We can't possibly go on. Oh, look, here comes an ally. Oh, they weren't enough, and now we're losing, and we can't possibly
or the
go
king,
on. Oh,
or the
there's
king
another
dies.
ally.
Yeah. So what did you think? Okay, let's try and like. So the first thing that happens is the bone carver, the weaver, and Braxis.
Show up, yes.
Yeah. Am I saying that correctly?
I laughed out loud at that part because she's like,
Reaxis.
she's like, I never got you a mating gift. And she's like,
So here are some
here you go, I got you some. And
monsters.
he's like, oh my god, you beat me to the punch.
Because here's the weaver.
And he's like, look, I got one too. And,
Woo-woo.
and they like make out on the battlefield over their mutual.
Oh my god!
like,
I really wish we could push a button for how many times I roll my eyes.
yeah. It was like, ugh. You didn't tell the commander of this army ahead of time
That you
had
had the
gotten these
smoking
guys.
gun. Yeah, that you brought the nuke to the power. And you brought the nuke.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was stoked that you had dropped this on him and you hadn't put them in a more strategic location. All 3 monsters didn't need to be okay. It's like in D&D when you have your like tanks and they're all in a line and somebody uses a cone weapon. And if you had just spread them out, it would have been fine. But
Yeah.
they're all fighting. They're like fighting side by side.
Yep.
Directly in the front.
Yeah.
Nobody's attacking the flank. They're ethereal. They could have appeared fucking
And
anywhere. And they're all in the front of
Yeah.
this battle.
And those, they die fast too.
Yeah, and then he uses the cauldron like a cone weapon, and he just takes them all out, all
Yeah.
in one, except Varaxis.
Yeah.
But it was just like, okay, sure, yeah, we're gonna surprise each other on the moment of battle. Like literally, we're about to march down and defeat these guys, and we're all gonna be stoked about it. We're gonna like dry hump each other up on this hillside because we're so stoked about it. And I was just like, I can't. What? And then and then they die. And
Yeah.
no, the battle is lost. And that's when they're like trying to make it to the cauldron. And Nesta and Elaine are like, you know what? Hard pass.
Well, Nesta
Hard
is
pass.
Cassian.
Yeah.
That's literally how it sounds on the audiobook. And I cannot stand it. I will say, if you listen to this book, I love most of the voices, but the Nesta voice and actually Cassian's voice are terrible.
That's because they need a Scottish guy to do it.
Oh God, that would
Like
be
the Scottish guy from Outlander.
dude.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Even the old guy.
Yeah.
The old guy's sexy
Oh,
as fuck.
yeah.
He was in the most recent Game of Thrones.
He's in a bunch of stuff.
Dude, he is so. Is his name McDougal?
Yeah.
God dang, McDougal.
He was in
Could get it.
Lucifer.
Oh, yeah, I watched a little bit of that, but not enough. But that guy is chef's kiss.
Yeah.
That was very chronically online of me.
Chronically online.
Anytime I say anything that's like a thing online, I'm like, oh
okay.
shit,
So
I'm
like
chronically.
speaking
So like,
in meme language is what you mean.
or like if you, or being like, hey, I actually can't. I don't have a rehearsed. Yeah, someone that uses like talks like
They're on TikTok
Kardashian
all the time.
and on TikTok all the time.
Okay.
Like, hey, what a vibe. That's such a vibe. Hey, girl. Hey, sis. Oh, that's super sus. Like,
Okay.
oh, no cap. Like, just super.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Like,
I do find slang very hard to keep up with.
and I do because I'm chronically online.
Hmm.
But you'll find with the youth that they will have entire personalities that are just online personalities.
Yeah.
And so it's wonderful to hear this terminology.
I mean, we kind of did too. Were you ever on like forums and chat rooms and
Yeah.
yeah. And you had kind of
Yeah.
like an online persona. It's the same. It just doesn't move. It moves so much faster now is all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also slower in some ways, but I digress. I think fashion, I'll just go ahead and say it. I think fashion is better with this online because it allows for women to wear things that make them feel good and there be an entire community around it.
Yes. You can
So-
find your people.
Right.
Yeah.
And it allows for more room versus like things can last longer. But yeah, we don't have to talk about it. I was going to talk about skinny jeans and parts, but it's fine. So we're still at the battle.
Yeah.
And
Still at the battle.
Still at the battle. And Nesta calls for Cassian because
Okay.
she's epically 100% in love with him. And if you can't tell by this part, you're dumb.
Yeah.
And he comes to her immediately because he loves her too. And she saves his life.
Yeah.
She
Because
also
pulls
makes him
out
feel
of the.
terrible because he's a general. He's such a sweet boy. The general.
He didn't have to go down with the ship. This way he can keep
Fighting
generaling because no, the battle's not over. There's like
12
12
more
other highs
chapters.
and lows here
Yeah.
that we need to go through.
So then Nesta gets him away. Dad comes up. Dad's neck gets broken really fast. I was very emotional
He
when
gets
the
like
dad
one
showed up.
line in this entire.
Yeah, and he focuses on Nesta, and his last word is, I loved you the moment I saw you. Which is so sweet.
Yeah.
And she needed that. And you know what that's going to do? Break her and fuck her up.
Well, good.
Yeah. You just wait. There's a whole book of her getting back what she's been putting out. And then Elaine, out of nowhere,
Stabs him.
Yep.
Stabs the king.
And then Nesta straight up
decapitates him.
twists it around. Yeah. Cuts his head off. I love that part. But he died really fast. He killed the Weaver really fast.
He was really obnoxious. I don't like a villain that just keeps getting away with it. Who's like, you know, like we use the ultimate weapon and he just winnows away. And he's like, and then and then he shows back up and they try to hit him again and he like winnows to the side and he's like, no, you can't get me. Yeah. It's
What about Faybane? Are you kidding me? Okay, Faybane.
You know what it is? It's because we created too many powerful characters.
Yeah, you don't. If you had to really analyze the power structures, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Oh, we have Reese, who's the most powerful High Lord that has ever existed because he is a half,
Whatever.
Illyrian high
the
fae.
same reason.
But then we
mixed
have
breed dogs don't get sick as often.
that what?
The same reason mixed breed dogs don't get sick as often.
Yeah,
or is less
that's
likely
true.
to have problems.
Like hip issues. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like my dog, who will live forever. His constitution is so high.
Exactly.
But then you've got. Oh my God, my thought. Where did it go? Oh,
the power structure.
Power structure. You've got Reese. And then you have this powder. Faybane. This whatever. That you can also just like eliminate their power.
This Deus Ex Machina. This like...
Ex Machina.
Yeah, it's a god in the machine.
I love that.
It's the hand of the writer in the story.
Yeah.
Being like...
God, you can tell who's the writer. Our dynamic... Sorry, I'm gonna go away for a minute.
It's fine.
Our dynamic is so similar to Karen and Georgia. I know that you didn't listen to My Favorite Murder, but this is why. You are obviously a writer, and I'm just a person that says stuff. And
Just a person that...
and
You have a lot of good points. Don't sell yourself short.
I won't sell myself short, but I think that if you listen to the way we put stuff together, I feel like you are like an academic with this beautiful language and ability to contextualize a thought, and I'm like on the streets. I'm straight from the streets. I'm like just describing things in my chronically online terminology, or I'm not chronically online, but kind of a little bit. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've thought about it a couple times. And I just wanted to mention it. I like it. I think it's a balance.
It works.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
But what were we talking about?
The Faybane and how that's literally just her. Like I've escalated power this entire time. I've gone from like high place to high place to high place. And now if I leave all these super powerful characters, there's no way to create tension.
Right.
But
we're just going to have this one substance that does this thing. And now they're going to come and they're going to, because they spent so much time with Hybern, they're just going to blow them all up.
Yeah.
It's like such a small detail that doesn't really do much.
Well, it's there at the beginning so that Feyre can't just escape.
And
so
we got that in
the Spring Court at the very beginning. They use it to take Feyre's powers away. And we get that so that she has that time with Lucian where they're running away.
And didn't they use it on Reese when he got sick?
They use it on Reese at
last book. When
was that Faybane?
I think so.
No, it was something else. It was like blood something.
Tree.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. What happened was, what had happened was.
Did you see that meme I sent you about? Never mind. It was about that same joke about how Reese is just like laying there and she's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly how I felt. But we introduce it so that we have that time with Lucian at the beginning. And then we can't just dispense with it because it's a super powerful weapon. So we have to use it a couple more times. So they kind of use it in the attack on the Summer Court when they're fighting with Tarquin. Mm-hmm. And then by the time we go to the Dawn Court to meet all the High Lords and ladies, or High Lords and their kept women. The Dawn Court is like, surprise, we found an antidote.
Right.
So
yeah, which is the cool lady that I want to know more about.
Sarah J. Maas takes us right to the edge of having actual narrative, like stakes, right? Like Faybane can literally take their power away, and then she gets you right to the edge, and then she's like, "Psych!" and she just drops it up. She's like, "Psych! There's an antidote."
Yeah, no more stakes.
It's like at the end when she's like, Amryn gave her life to save everybody. And then she's like, psych!
She's back.
She's back. And
Yeah.
she's like Fae now. So she gets to just be with her friends. She's not like a super powerful creature
Which
in
she
a cage anymore.
is so what's your take on what Amryn is?
At the very, like,
Like
before.
her power. Like, what do you, like, is there a monster? Like, what do you think of her powers?
Well, the way
'Cause
she describes it.
I have a take on it.
Because she's talking about in the other world that she came from, there's humans.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like a created entity. So I see her more as like a kind of like the Maiar, where she's like a angel or like a divine force.
Yeah, she's an angel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then,
Who did you compare her to? Did you compare it to the Lord of the Rings?
yeah.
Okay. I was like, I think that's what
Like
Gandalf is.
Yeah.
I love that I knew it. Of course I do it. I've read the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
So, of course. I guess I am smart sometimes.
See?
But yeah, she is. She's like an angel. And I think that if you see like her universes all line up, and that comes up later in a different series that I'm not going to ask you to read yet. It's fine.
That Throne of Glass.
No, the other
Oh.
one, Crescent City.
Oh.
But I know you're going to need a break. I know you're going to need a break.
We'll segue and then we'll segue back.
Yeah, maybe. Well, you don't even have to. But anyways, coming back. I was going to say the next little book is a novella, a short,
Yeah.
and it's a Christmas story. So I thought
That's a good
maybe we
time.
could do it before Christmas.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And
I
then
could
there's
finish before
Silver
Christmas.
Flames, which is the best of the best of the best. Anyways, back.
That's the one from Nesta's point of view.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one with my love in it.
Cassian.
My love. Yes.
Yeah.
So first ending, Elaine.
First ending.
First ending,
Yeah.
Elaine. Their dad dies. Elaine stabs him with Truth Teller, the sword that gets mentioned hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah. It reminds me of The Sword of Truth. Did you ever read The Sword of Truth
I didn't.
series?
No.
Oh, it's like it's basically a retelling of The Wheel of Time, but with more rape.
Oh, what you love.
Yeah.
Gotta love some.
So
About a man wrote it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first book is Wizard's First Rule, but he gets this sword and it's the Sword of Truth. And it literally has truth written on the handle.
Subtle.
I was always like, okay.
Not even like the Latin version of truth.
No, it's just straight up truth. And every time he holds it, he can like feel truth under his hand. Yeah.
Is that his dick's name too?
Yeah, it's a big dick swinging book. And
Yeah,
by
it sounds like it.
Yeah, but Matt read a lot of them, and he was like, "You'll like it." And I read it. I was like, "I don't like it."
I hate this.
But thank you for
Thanks for the rec.
Thanks for the
I'm gonna move on.
recommendation.
Yeah. So first ending's done. Then Amryn and Farah go up to the cauldron. They make it up there, and then the cauldron. I wasn't really comprehending how it happens, but the cauldron like grabs her and starts flailing her around the field so that we get a huge like aerial view of what's happening everywhere.
Oh yeah, it like takes her consciousness.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
gives us an aerial view.
Well,
it
it's
takes
doing-
her on a drone ride.
Yeah, because that's what the cauldron's doing, I guess. Even though it's not sentient.
I mean, it obviously is.
No, anyway, that's just so that she can see her dad dying without actually having to be there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and so
And she can see the.
although I do like what they do with their dad's body, they like wash him and dress him and give him flowers, and then she's just like,
Yeah,
she just
burns him.
and then they're like, is anybody hungry?
Yeah.
Just
There's a shawarma restaurant down the street. I think I saw a shawarma restaurant when I was up top.
yeah,
You catch that? You
yeah,
catch that
I did. I
reference?
got that one.
Yes,
that one
you
I
did
know.
good. You did
Yes,
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
And then, so then Amryn has deceived her
Yeah,
because she thought that Amryn was going to be able to do something to the cauldron, but in actuality, the Suriel, our tea queen, knew that Amryn could unleash herself and unleash her angelic, natural,
which she immediately
destructive like.
dies.
I mean, I think she just fades out.
But why? She existed here.
15,000 years.
Yeah,
Well, -5. So 10,000 years, I think
Yeah.
is how long. I don't know the timeline actually, but it was a long time.
but as soon as she's back in the world, she makes it like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and then she poofs out like
She
a
just goes,
cloud.
it becomes like the reflection on the water.
Yep, and then is just chilling in limbo land
Yeah. Hasn't quite moved on yet.
in her old body.
Yeah.
Body.
Yeah. So Reese brings her back because, of course, Reese died. I don't know. This whole part at the end was just like.
Tell me as a writer, okay, as someone who's creative and trying to create a new story, at what point do you go, I'm going to end this exactly how I ended the first book? It's a callback, really, to the first book.
It is, but it's her giving life to Reese instead of the other way around.
Why does it? What is that like? But why?
This is Sarah J. Maas taking us to the edge of having actual stakes.
Kitty.
Of having actual stakes. And then just, psych!
Yeah.
Dropping us out. Like, hey guys, Reese literally gave everything. He died so that the world could be saved. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, he didn't.
Yeah.
He's back.
Hey,
and so did Amryn, but no,
oh,
sorry.
there she is.
She's back. Yeah.
It's like the opposite of Game of Thrones. It's the opposite of the stories where everybody has immense plot armor.
I fully expected her dad to come back somehow.
Really? I wasn't thinking about it.
Literally nobody died.
Yeah.
Yeah, except the monsters.
Actually, I might have thought about that. I don't know.
Except the monsters and like.
And I really wish we could have kept the monsters. They were some of the most interesting characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she killed off a lot of her, like, I created these really cool, like, world-deepening creatures.
And now they're gone.
And I just, like, exploded them all in one whatever. Which at least it wasn't, like, magic that killed them. It was, like, the elemental force of creation itself.
Yep. I do like how she, like, modifies her curses to represent the world that they're in. Like, it's never God, it's gods.
Yeah.
Or it's like, bless the cauldron.
Yeah.
You know, I always find that at least consistent. But second ending's over. So Amryn's gone.
Yeah.
Then Reese comes back because the cauldron has been split in 3 and is a void that's basically a
hole in creation.
black hole.
Yeah.
And it's
growing.
And sucking in everything.
Yeah.
And so Reese realizes that it is the nothing.
Yeah.
She's very much borrowed from.
I mean, it's a good story.
I mean, who's Atreyu? Cassian. Fine ass Cassian. Atreyu. I love you too, man.
My sister had a big crush on Atreyu.
Yeah, who doesn't? He was fine. He clip boner before I knew my body could do that. And I'm not kidding about that devil. That was literally my first crush.
Hot.
Super hot.
Yeah.
I don't think they...
You listened to it? The part where
I
he's
did,
like...
yes.
He has so much just like sexual body language where he's talking to her and he like leans back and like runs his like...
Yeah.
Nail across his chest.
And then when she turns in and has... So we're going to visit. We're talking about Legend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're talking about Legend.
We're talking about Legend. And there's something so hot about when she goes dark.
Yeah.
And she's wearing that plunging neckline.
Yeah.
That only a little titty woman could wear.
Yeah.
And it is so stunning. Stunning.
Yeah. Mia Sara is
super hot.
Super hot in this movie. Yeah.
God, I don't know if they meant to introduce an entire youth to like darkness and emo.
This is the
That's
definition.
probably why we ended up emo when we did.
It's probably, I mean, yeah.
Because they were so hot.
I mean, I prefer that version of her to the earlier version.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
The dark, sultry, I'm going to bang this probably giant monster thing. Yeah. It's tough. Anyways, back to this. But yeah, I was sad I missed out on that podcast because I wanted to say that. Just wanted everyone to know how stupid hot
you snuck it in.
Yeah, snuck it in.
Snuck it in.
So we've done ending number 2. So ending number 3, Rhysand.
Ending number 3. I love that you named the endings.
Well, I mean,
because it really does feel like it. It's like
it
it's
never
over,
ends.
guys.
Just kidding.
No, it's not.
Let's sew up the. Oh, and then when she throws her tantrum and throws the priceless book
in it.
into the cauldron.
She's like, well, I can't read this shit.
boom,
Yeah.
bye. She probably could have helped Vesa if she hadn't thrown the book away.
Right. Well, that's why we did. Because it's a plot hole that we can now just close up because it's in the void and no one can ever go get it.
Well, I bet somebody can. Anyways, so Reese dies because he knows. And what's the last words he says to her? I love you. And then she brings him back. You know what we've never mentioned? And it actually plays a huge role in her books? Tattoos. Because it's so normal.
Yeah.
She loves tattoos. All of her main characters have tattoos, covered in tattoos. She loves a tattooed man. I mean, don't we all?
Yeah. I mean, it's not, but there's, I mean, they just get them.
Yeah.
They don't have to like get them. They just appear.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They do in Throne of Glass, though.
Can you still make bargains if you run out of space?
I'm sure they can just be little tattoos.
I mean, but
like tiny tats.
But like the bigger the stakes, the bigger the tattoo. So if you're like
Covered
really
in
making
tattoos.
a big bargain and you don't have any space
I guess you have
left.
to undo some of your little ones.
Yeah.
You got to make some space.
There's another book I read called, I think it's like Rhapsody. I don't know. She's a siren. Anyway, her like love interest, it would remind you a lot of this book actually. But her love interest is like the Lord of the Night fairies. And he has giant bat wings. Anyway, but he's like
Oh, I've heard of that.
and she's a siren.
I've heard of that.
And she makes bargains and with him because he's like the bargainer or whatever. But he gives her beads.
What's her name? Is it Jude?
Maybe. I don't know. It's been a long time since I read it. But
Does she have horns?
She doesn't. Well, she does eventually, kind of. I don't. It's one of those ones I quit reading because the bad guy felt too like. I hate it when they're always one upping the good guys. Like they're always like, "Oh, the good guys are so dumb." That it just gets to me after a while where I'm like,
I can't do it anymore.
I can't do it anymore. Like,
Yeah.
So anyway, she ends up with like her entire forearm is covered in beads.
Interesting. I'll have to look that up. There's several of those stories out there that I'll run across in these. Yeah. I'm excited now. Anyways, the ending 3 is over. And then we get to kind of like denouement it out a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even remember what happened after the cauldron scene, honestly.
We get to kind of have some downtime with all the other characters, and we get to meet Miriam and Draken. And I think they're going to show up in some later on stories.
I mean, they should. They had enough build up.
I would love to know their stories too. Yeah. So it all kind of wraps up in this very long way to the point where it feels almost anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Because you get three in a row.
Yeah.
But they don't feel
sad.
Well, they are satisfying. Like, I remember reading it. I was really emotional. I finished it. And I wasn't unhappy with the ending. It was satisfying.
It just wasn't, I don't know. It wrapped up, which I'm glad we wrapped it up.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the like.
Kind of like.
It was like, okay, well.
Yeah.
That was nice.
A lot of people felt that way.
Sometimes that's what happens when you are just writing.
Yeah.
Without planning it.
Right.
Because she didn't probably know where she was going.
Right.
Or she may have known what the ending was going to be, but she didn't know how she was going to get there.
Right.
And that's why we flounder for so long, which there's nothing wrong with not having a specific plan, but you got to have an exit strategy.
That's how Dungeons and Dragons feels sometimes. When you're playing, do you ever feel like if the plot to your campaign's not moving quick enough, you're just like over it?
Yeah, you're floundering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. You're like, okay, well, you're ready to move on. Like that's
what
a story is.
I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Right.
Right. And you have to have kind of trends. You have to trend up or trend. You have to have highs and lows. And she's kind of going for that with all those tasks in the middle, but it doesn't feel like it because they're all very preemptive. And we have a proven track record at this point of everyone's going to be fine. So
yep.
No matter how bleak it seems,
that everyone's going to be fine.
Everyone's going to be fine.
There are no real stakes. Something we haven't even talked about, which we should probably mention because these are supposed to be spicy books, is the fact that by this point in the story, we don't really care about listening to Farah and Reese get it on.
No, that's because Reese and Farah become very one note I mean, once they're finally together, we finally culminate that relationship, they don't have a ton of character growth. I mean, we get a little bit of, guys, Reese isn't perfect. But even then, it's like, he's perfectly imperfect.
Look at his purple eyes.
Look at his, he just like more immediately forgives him. There's no real consequences to the fact that he doesn't warn her ahead of that meeting or whatever. It just finally feels like, okay, like I get it. I'm glad they're together, which is a lot of times why we delay them getting together for so long, because that's what creates the tension. Yeah. And then as soon as they are together, creating more tension, because once they are together,
where do you go from there?
Yeah. And that's why it probably feels a little, because we don't.
And that's why she brings in so many other people. And I think that's why she decided, like, oh, this has to be about other people. We have to want other people.
Because they're not only together, but they're like fated to stay together. So there's not even really stakes. I mean, even there's not really, nothing's going to happen to pull them apart.
Yeah. Well, and then what's cool is in the next couple books, they're not our main characters, so we just see them as on the side, and you like them. You like what they're doing, and you like having that like peripheral version of them.
This book would have benefited from shifting point of views. She does it a little bit, where you'll be like, "Oh, this chapter is Rysand."
Yes, it's the first and the last,
and then it's like,
but it would have done really well for both of them.
Yeah, if we had, it would have felt like the pace stayed a little bit faster if we'd had like a Cassian chapter and an Azrael chapter.
And we could see the same battle from different point of views.
Yeah,
and a lot of, like, Sanderson does it.
Yeah.
And, like, at the end, anytime he has a battle scene, which he does so well, the point of view switch really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's really impactful.
It feels like in a movie when you get those quick transitions between scenes.
And you're building emphasis, you're building tension, you're like, what's happening? And then the female lead comes in and she's way more powerful than everyone else.
Yeah.
That happens.
So this book would have benefited from that.
Yeah.
And then the challenge is just creating individual voices for each character.
Yep.
And then being able to write each individual voice. As a writer, that's the challenge. I mean, that's what would have improved this book, is we get too much Feyre. Yeah. Like the first book is all from Feyre's point of view, and that makes sense.
Right.
And the second book is all from Feyre's point of view, and it more or less makes sense. It would have benefited from some Rysand, but it's hard to do that.
But we got chapter 54.
We did, and it's hard to do that without giving things away.
Right.
But in this book, we're not hiding anything, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we're hiding small things.
See her, I think she learns that because the Silver Flames is not written from one perspective. It is written from both. I think you may be like, oh yeah, this is what it needed. This is what this feels
like it needed to me. Because like a couple chapters from Amren's point of view would have been kick-ass.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Just to listen to the way she talks.
The way she thinks. I don't mind if we shift first person. Which I don't think this isn't first person. It is. I don't mind if we get multiple first person points of view.
First person's where they're like, I was doing this.
Yeah.
What if it was in third person? And then Farah, that's me.
We'll have to read Gideon the Ninth eventually.
Okay.
Which is by I'm gonna murder her name if I try to say it out loud, so just Google it. But it's Gideon the Ninth. And then the second book is I think it's Nona. Anyway, the one of the books that follows is in second person. Because something really dramatic happens at the end.
What's second person?
You walk down the hallway. You sit down on the chair.
Oh, that's weird.
Because something so dramatic happens at the end of Gideon the Ninth that she literally suffers like a dissociative event. And she can't put herself back in her body. So she just sees herself from second person.
Whoa. What a feat.
Yeah.
What a feat for a writer to successfully, and she does it successfully.
Yeah, it's
a good book.
Yeah, it's a good
cool.
book.
Yeah, we'll have to try that after Murderbots.
Yeah. I think you'd like Gideon the Ninth.
Probably would. There's not a lot of things. I am easily impressed.
It's
actually
good. It's necromancers in space. Lesbian necromancers in space.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which
people that bring people back to life.
Yeah, it's tagged as lesbian necromancers, but there's not a whole ton of. I mean, we don't get a lot. There's no sex. Yeah, sorry. It's the opposite of Ice Planet Barbarians.
Fine. Yeah. That's what I listen to when I'm going to sleep now.
Ice Planet.
Not kidding. It's my lullaby. It's just nice, soothing sex sounds.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have any plots if you fall asleep.
It doesn't matter.
No problem.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. I don't listen to music. I literally listen to a book. And if I'm trying to follow the book, I have to set asleep or like turn it off. And I'll put that on. Sometimes I'll put on like A Way of Kings or Sanderson because I love it. But it doesn't matter if I fall asleep in it. Mistborn. So funny. Talking about a book. Oh, I won't ruin that for everybody. Talking about a book that definitely has stakes. The way that Mistborn trilogy ends.
Yeah.
Wait, did you finish those?
Oh, Matt always tells me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They don't end. They end fine.
Yeah.
And I get pissed. I don't want it to end like that.
Yeah. I don't mind if I don't mind if you don't have stakes. That's fine. But just realize that you're taking away like the drama.
Right.
And act accordingly.
Yeah.
Create it some other way. If you're not willing to kill off a character, that's fine. I don't want you to kill off a character. I'm happy if nobody dies. But don't keep showing us that you're not going to kill a character off. Do it once, maybe do it twice.
I think we could have lost Amryn.
Yeah, I think we could. I was happy with Amryn, that being her, like,
out.
I've literally been here for 15,000 years. I'm tired.
I just learned how to love.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for you. And I'm gone.
And I'm gone.
Because I got to save the day.
That would have been fine. For
And
her
the
to
third
just,
ending.
Yeah.
Second ending.
But then for her to come back and be like, and I'm like you now, was like, all right.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah. Well, I love Amryn. I'm glad she's here. I'm glad we sorry, I'm doing it again. I'm glad she's here. I'm glad we get to keep her. You know, something I wanted to say, because we never really talked about it, but there's this one quote from this book. And I just thought we should say it because so many people say it. I feel like so many people that love these books. And we love these books. I love these books.
Yeah.
But also, they're just stories.
Yeah.
But
they are, it's not an unconditional love, but it's never gonna be. What's the quote? I'm waiting.
To the stars that listen and the dreams that are answered. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I remember it. I don't remember where they say
Yeah,
it.
that's the thing that everybody puts on sweatshirts.
Oh.
That's like
Because it's poetic sounding.
yeah, or for the people who look at the stars and wish.
For the people who look at the stars and wish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
To the stars that listen and the dreams that are answered.
I did highlight some quotes in this book. I mean, there were a couple parts that I thought were
Oh my God.
were
But
quotable. I don't.
talk about the things that she said too much though.
Yeah.
How do you
Suriel was a dreamer.
everyone's a dreamer. How do you rear someone's knee? Knee someone's rear?
Yeah.
He kneed my rear. What the does that mean?
Need kicked him in the ass.
No, but like she does it in like
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's got quite a few like phrases. She recycles
uses a lot.
Yeah.
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 Well, anything else?
No.
So what's your favorite thing about this book?
About this book?
What was your favorite thing?
I'm thinking.
It's okay. I think mine, while you're thinking, I think mine is I liked the transition to Nesta and Cassian. I like where that's going.
Yeah.
And I liked it when I was reading it. I
liked the monsters.
I know.
I liked the depth that we gave some of the monsters.
Yeah,
They got treated pretty summarily, but like
Yeah.
I think Baraxis is my favorite character in the entire series so far because he's literally like a thing made of nightmares and he just wants a friend.
Yeah.
And I sympathize with
Have
Baraxis.
you watched Werewolf by Night?
I have not yet.
I think you should. I really do. Anyways, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, that I liked. As soon as they were like, there's a thing at the bottom of this pit, I was like, I want to meet the thing at the bottom of the pit.
I bet it's cute and fuzzy.
I bet we could be best friends.
Yeah.
So they finally, she goes down there and it like shows up behind her and she's like, I'll make a deal with you. And it's like, okay.
Can I have the moon and the stars?
Like,
Can I see the sky? Feel the wind?
Two characters show up to capture her.
The ravens.
Capture the ravens. And she's literally like, I'll give you anything. And it's like, will you come down here sometimes?
And talk to
And
me?
just talk to me? I was
That's how I
like,
feel. That's who I am.
I was like, okay, that's it. It's my favorite character in the entire book. And she's
Yeah,
like, deal? And it's like, okay, don't look. And then it like eats, and then it eats them.
Turn your face away. Yeah, her monsters are very charming.
Yeah, she does a good job with them, like inventing them. They're funny. They're good. They're good. Like the bone carver's good. He's sufficiently creepy. The
Yep.
weaver is sufficiently creepy.
I would love to read the bone carver from someone else's perspective too, because I think he does change.
Yeah.
And like we get him from this like little boy.
Yeah.
And I would love to see him from like, I just want to see everything from Cassian's perspective.
Yeah. This is one where this would have been a good thing for each character to have to visit him and then us to explore what they saw the bone carver as.
Yeah.
That would have been a good, like, a way of deepening each character. I also think we would have found Nesta and Elaine more sympathetic if we had seen anything from their point of view.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because they're just, like you said, one note. Well, Nesta, we get a little bit more like depth and a little bit more like...
Slightly.
But
not
Elaine
really.
is just flowers and puppies and baking and gardening. And that's fine. But there are some, I don't know. And we'll see. I think the next book in the series is supposed to be Elaine. And I don't know whether we'll
The series isn't done.
No.
Oh.
Shit's about to get up, like fly off the handle. I told you she's got a whole universe. She's stacking universes.
Okay.
You don't have to go that far with me. Don't worry. Or maybe
we got a lot of podcasts to make. We got a lot of books to read. We can get back to them.
But you know what? I think if you'll just hang with me for the 5, the little book that comes next, and then Silver Flames, we can pause and not look back for years.
For years.
Yeah, because
it's going to take her that long to work up to it.
But you think there's 2 other books in the Crescent City series. It's a new series that she started, and they loop back.
Okay.
So she's stacking universes.
Yeah.
Already.
I think we mentioned this. It's like the Cosmere.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. The Maas.
Well, it's because this is only happening on this one little island. We've got continents.
This world, we're supposed to be a whole world here.
Oh, okay.
But there are other planets
Yeah.
in our sphere universe.
Like where the monsters came from.
Yeah, and realms.
Yeah.
Yeah, like dimensions kind of.
Yeah.
And where Amryn came from.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she's she's one of the monsters.
Yep. Yeah. And this place has high magic. This universe, like Prithian, has a lot of magic.
Yeah.
Not all of her worlds are that magical. And so she's going to bring them all together and we're going to get an end game. And it's probably going to be there's probably going to be 17 endings.
17 whole endings.
17 whole endings.
People are going to die. Every single character is going to
die and come back.
Yep.
By the 7 lords who are going to just bebop around giving sunflower seeds of power out.
Yep. Exactly. And I love how Reese is like, it's only my power. I didn't take any of yours. Like, how does that work, motherfucker?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, to be honest. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, why did they not know? I guess they'd never done it before, but how did they know they could do it when they give the power to Feyre to bring her back? And then they all do it again for Reese, and he's like, but I'm exactly the same as I was before, so rest easy. Like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
No.
I mean, I guess it kind of does. It's like when they give a human that energy, it remakes her. But when you give if you give energy to the same thing,
it's like recharging
it just
a battery.
recharges it. Yeah. I mean, it kind of, if we have to make it make sense. But I also hear what you're saying.
I
was also like rolling my
eyes
eyes that it was the exact same ending.
Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't feel like it's like this book is about, these stories are about character development. They are about plot. They are about the story. It's not just about the spice. The spice is actually like
Very
Not s-
little.
Very, very little.
By the end of it, I was like, are you really going to give him a blowjob while people are dying in the tent right next to you?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. She's like,
At that point, you're like, keep it to your fucking self.
yeah.
I don't care about your. It's really like, you know, when you have your girlfriends and they first start dating someone and you kind of want to hear about what's going on. Yeah,
don't.
it's like, I don't
They-
want
no.
to peer into the intimacy of your perfect relationship. It's not fun anymore. It was
Yeah.
fun when we didn't know if you guys really liked each other. And I probably wouldn't be that grossed out if married people talked about their stuff like that. But at the same time, it's
Yeah.
just like,
It gets to be a little bit much. It gets to be like, now, there's only one time where she's like, "Ugh, I think I'm
too tired.
too tired. And he's like, I guess it's okay for tonight. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, every night, you guys, like, you've been battling people, killing people.
Yeah. Oh, I meant, okay, so I want to circle back to previous episodes when, yeah. Beep, boop, boop, boop. When we talked about orgasms and fae organs.
Yes.
So I was watching a TikTok, and this white man was telling me about how,
Oh, this is going somewhere good. I can really tell. I can tell already.
I don't know who this guy was, and I hate that it was a dude. I was like, please don't inform me in this
Yeah.
way. This feels wrong. There are 4 types of orgasms, and I thought we could talk about them and how, since that seems to be our thing towards the end of these episodes. But the first one, of course, is the one that we know, the clitoral, the one that everyone, the most successful version.
Yeah.
And then the G-spot, which exists. Yeah. I
mean,
guess.
there's like varying.
And then there's the squirty one.
Yeah.
And then the 4th one he talked about was a deep one. He called it something. And I was like, I can honestly say 2 of those I have never experienced as a woman. And so in my mind, I was like, maybe I was unfair. Maybe there are women out there that have these things often, and they are written into this Fae universe. So I was going to apologize to the Fae folk out there
Yeah.
for being so presumptuous about their
Shortchanging their superpowers.
and their organs, and saying that they had to have had, and that maybe there are women out there experiencing these massive life-changing orgasms.
I mean, sexuality exists on a spectrum. So
Yeah.
sexual pleasure exists on a spectrum.
Yeah,
too.
and I just really felt like I owed the Fae an apology. And I don't want to be one of those people that can't say, hey, I see what I did and I was wrong.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, that's okay.
One TikTok by this white guy. And I was like,
Oh,
oh,
white guy. You're like, well, now I owe everyone an apology.
yeah. At least we learn as we go. You know, it's all about growth. But
Yeah.
I would hate to be like, can you imagine if somebody was listening and they were like, I mean, like, I have like those kinds of orgasms all the time, and I'm just this little person here going, there's only 2 kinds. There's only one kind. You can only do it like this. Blah, blah, blah. So
No, I don't think I got that from
I hope
what we
not.
talked about. It was
I
just
hope
like
not.
the unrealistic expectation that they just like, they always have phenomenal sex.
Yeah.
Like they're on a battlefield. There's a guy next to them on a cot bleeding. He doesn't have a leg. And she's like,
Let's do it.
yeah, it's a little,
What's that mouth do?
I wasn't here for that in this book. Like
Yeah.
the previous book,
And that's
I
why I'm
was.
saying it's like their relationship, and that is, you know, the story has to shift. You have to shift our interest. If it changes, it has to go different directions.
The second book felt like that honeymoon period in a relationship.
So out of the 3 so far, which was your favorite?
Probably the first one.
Really?
Yeah. I love the incredulous look you're giving me. I liked the
No,
second
this is
half.
the go on look.
Okay, I liked the second half of the first book.
Yeah, that's
when
a good-
Feyre goes through the trials.
You mean the second,
This
the
is
last 25%?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the like where we get to know her really.
Yeah.
And Reese really.
Right.
And he is such different. He's so different from what you expect him to be. It makes it good. You're like, oh, well, that's so nice. Like he's doing nice things. Why? Why is he doing nice things? Like, what is he going to do to Feyre at the end of it? And then you realize by the end of it that he's actually not bad. Like he's here to help, and he's just as much a victim as she is. And I liked that. And also, she literally dies at the end. And this is the first time that somebody dies and gets brought back.
Yep.
So we weren't sure how she, well, knew she was going to get brought back because there's more books, but we weren't sure how. And then she does get brought back. And then the second book was so whiny. I mean, I know she's, I get it. I mean, I know she's broken, and I'm glad we spend time with broken Feyre. Like, I appreciate that we weren't just like, and she was totally fine and had no PTSD at all. Isn't that amazing? It must be one of her phase superpowers. So I'm fine with the time we spent with broken Feyre. But then when we finally do meet up with Rysand, it's a lot of just him being a genuinely nice guy and her being a bitch about it for like a long time until she's like, maybe I've been unfair to you. And he's
Maybe
like,
I'm 19 and 20. Yeah.
maybe I've been unfair to you. And he's like, well, we should probably do it. And she's like, yeah, it's fair. And then she's like, we're doing it. We're doing fine. Everything's great. And then, the Suriel drops the, we're mates. And she's like, what the fuck?
Flies off the handle.
And that's her only real
stubborn to stupidity moment.
That's the only real stumbling block in their relationship, is when she finds out that they're fated to be together. So the only real drama that happens between them
is that they're meant to be.
Yeah,
I know.
And so then it gets a little saccharine after that.
Can you explain that word?
Overly sweet. Just like
Saccharine, like sugar.
Yeah, to the point where it's like
nauseating and cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cringy in this book.
Yeah.
And there's the scenes are written fine, but I'm not reading these books for that. If I want to read that, I go back to Ice Planet.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
there are books where we have a fair amount of like that spice.
Yeah.
Spice. Where we have a fair amount of
Peppers.
spice and then we drop it and it feels like it's been dropped. This is not one where I think I would have minded if we dropped like 75% of the spice.
Oh, yeah.
Just put it in where it feels appropriate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she doesn't leave us any other forms of intimacy. Like they never just hold each other to go to sleep. Like
when you get to that moment in a relationship where it is just as intimate to go to sleep and not do it that it is to do it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a pivot. It's like an accolade.
Right.
To get to the point where it's like, oh, well, we are just emotionally, intellectually, spiritually,
right,
physically, but we don't have to be physical today.
Like that moment in the tent where they had that big battle. He's tired. He's lost all of his magic. And she gives him a blowjob. And it's like, I didn't want that right now. I'm not saying that I didn't want that at another time in the book, but right now I just wanted her to snuggle up with him and for them to just be together.
Yeah.
That to me would have felt
I wonder if
far
her
more intimate.
editor was like, you gotta add it in.
I don't know.
Gotta make it spicy. Well, wait for 5 because it's a different book. That's why your sister was like, isn't one of them problematic? Yes, because this next one is not like this one at all. It's a different book.
Well, that might be a nice change.
I think you'll appreciate it, especially since we're getting to the end and you don't normally go through this many in a series. And then we'll give you a break, and you can find something else to read or read another book with someone else.
I'll reread Murderbot for like the 5th time.
Yeah, I've started reading those too. They are good. Yeah, on my Kindle, which is so fun, so fun. So
that's not a plug. We don't get paid.
Not yet.
Not yet. You hear that, Amazon?
Yeah. Amazon.
I'll just take free books.
Free books. Yeah. Yeah. So how is the podcast going? So the most listened to one was The Legend?
No, it's I think it's Nosferatu is like the top. Or our one, I think maybe the first one, the A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Oh,
is the highest one now.
I haven't put them on Reddit yet, because I wanted to kind of have 3 of them. I'm scared.
No, it's okay.
I know.
What's funny? It's fine. You can just be like, hey, I'm on this podcast where we talk about them. Boop.
I know, but then you're just opening up for criticism.
I mean, that's what you do when you put stuff on the internet.
I know. It's scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary, but I know it's going to happen.
If you care about what other people think and feel,
I do.
It's horrifying.
I don't not care. I just know. I know where
I feel
that.
like you're more mature than I am.
I know where that fits, and it's right over there.
Emotionally, I feel like you're much more intelligent than I am.
I don't give a fuck. Count.
I know. I need to meet you there.
If it's a literal, if I said something offensive, that's fine. You call me out on it. I'm good. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear it.
Same.
If you're just an asshole, then you get stuck over there with all the assholes.
Yeah.
If I pronounce something wrong, I don't give a shit. I'm sorry. They are fictional characters in fictional places.
Correct.
So I'm not deeply concerned about that. If you can hear my kids walking in the background, I'm not deeply concerned about that.
Yeah. At least we kept the penetration talk till the end where the kids were asleep.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
But if I was offensive, I care about that. That I will happily.
To an extent too. Well, to most extent.
If I agree with if I see your point, yes.
Right.
Yes, I was offensive in that. Okay, I get it.
I don't think that you say offensive things. I think you've been around people who don't have a sense of humor like you do.
That's fair.
I think that's why you feel like you offend people. I just think that you've been surrounded by people who don't get you or like your sense of humor. And so to them, they're just like, what? But you're not offensive in any way.
All right. So this was another book talk with Kate.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad we could shout down our bond at each other.
Yeah. And that was the third book.
Yep.
I felt like I've read 15 books in this series.
So I know. And maybe we can take a break if you want. No. The next one's very short. It's like a Christmas story.
We'll go all the way through Silver Flame.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So this was Book Talk with Kate, and we will be finishing the 4th book by Christmas. Because then well be able to do a Christmas
and we can probably
release.
do a mini pod for it because it's so short.
Do you think we can do a mini pod?
I have faith in us.
I don't have faith in that.
How much time are we at right now?
2 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh, that's not so bad.
No, the first one was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is amazing. And you're probably going to cut so much of it.
We're getting so streamlined.
I know. Well, it's because of my outline. Can you hear the paper?
All right. So thank you for listening.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Just me tuning in to hear these three chatting about fantasy novels of the spicy variety. Not your average book club, if you know what I mean. Are you happy to see us over? Is that a dagger? It's Feast, Sheath, Shatter. It's Feast, Sheath, Shatter.
Literally the most delicious thing I've ever had. I've never had something so delicious.